Different date, same fate. I'ma knock out Jake Paul.
Jake Paul initially shocked the boxing world on July 5, 2024, when he announced he was canceling his highly anticipated fight with Mike Tyson. In a video on his YouTube channel, Jake explained that he was concerned about Tyson's health, citing advice from medical experts who claimed the 58-year-old might not be in peak shape for the bout. Jake's announcement seemed to show respect for the legendary boxer, emphasizing that Tyson's well-being should come first. However, Tyson wasn't having any of it. After Jake attempted to back out, claiming the fight would be too dangerous for the aging legend, Tyson fired back with a $350 million fine, making it clear that he wouldn't let Jake dictate the terms. Faced with the financial repercussions, Jake quickly reversed his decision and begged Tyson to stick to the original fight schedule. But Tyson had a new surprise in store. He introduced a set of brutal new fight rules, designed specifically to make Jake regret his attempt to avoid the fight. Now, Jake must face the consequences of his actions and deal with the new, more punishing conditions.
Obviously, devastating news. I'm heartbroken, speechless, gutted. We've been working so hard over here, everyone in this camp, and I just feel bad for everyone involved in this event.
Jake Paul's sudden cancellation of his fight with Mike Tyson sent shockwaves through the boxing world, especially after all the hype and Tyson's intense training posts on social media, proving he was in top form. Fans were left baffled and confused, and the internet exploded with speculation. In an attempt to smooth things over, Jake told fans to forget about the Tyson fight and focus on the future, but that didn't sit well. Promoters and sponsors were furious. In a surprising twist, Jake announced a new opponent, Mike Perry, with the fight scheduled for July 20th, 2024. His explanation? Mike Perry is a great fighter and a true competitor. That was it, no further details, leaving everyone wondering about the real reason behind the switch.
Yeah, the news is true, folks. I, Jake Paul, will be fighting Mike Perry, Tampa, Florida, July.
The announcement of Jake Paul's new opponent, Mike Perry, left fans both curious and skeptical. As debates swirled around the implications of the switch, the fight's dynamics started to take shape. Perry, who had made the transition from MMA to boxing, brought a gritty, no-nonsense brawler mentality that contrasted sharply with Jake's flashy, attention-grabbing persona. Promotion for the Paul vs. Perry fight ramped up quickly, with Perry promising a war in the ring, further fueling excitement. However, the shadow of the cancelled Tyson fight loomed large, leaving many to wonder what might have been, but the person who reacted most explosively was Iron Mike himself. Imagine enduring excruciating pain from an ulcer, yet still refusing to cancel the fight due to his unwavering sense of commitment. And then here comes Jake Paul, thinking he could simply call it off. Mike Tyson wasn't having any of it, especially when millions were on the line. Tyson's first move, a massive $350 million lawsuit. The reasoning behind such a staggering amount was clear. The financial fallout from Jake's sudden cancellation was huge. Companies like Monster Energy and DraftKings had poured millions into promoting the fight, with multi-million-dollar advertising campaigns now rendered completely useless. Major sponsorships, too, were tied to what was expected to be one of the biggest boxing events of the year. When Jake pulled the plug, those sponsorship deals quickly turned into financial black holes. Advertising, TV spots, online ads, billboards, everything went up in smoke, costing the industry a fortune.
Yeah, the biggest ever.
Ever. It's on pace to be the biggest fight ever.
Yes, and we're involved.
We're involved,
We're
right?
involved. All those big shots, all the biggest athletes in the world. This is the biggest ever.
November 28th. Let's
Lit. Hey, we lit here. We lit at the Tyson Ranch.
The venue bookings alone reveal the staggering complexity of organizing major boxing events. These events don't come together overnight. They're meticulously planned months in advance. From broadcasters securing exclusive rights to small-time investors hoping to cash in, everyone involved took a significant hit when Jake Paul decided to cancel his fight with Mike Tyson. The financial fallout was immediate and widespread, and now, Jake Paul is facing the consequences. The controversy surrounding the $350 million fine has ignited heated debates across the boxing world. Critics argue that the amount is excessive and question whether it's even enforceable. Jake, of course, tried to downplay the situation, claiming the cancellation was just a mix-up, a simple miscommunication. Sure, Jake Paul playing the misunderstood, charming rogue who made an innocent mistake. But anyone with half a brain could see through it. His statement, which he claimed was taken out of context, emphasized his commitment to making the fight happen and reassured everyone that Tyson and Paul would clash in the ring come November. However, Mike Tyson wasn't buying any of it. His trust had been shattered, and he wasn't about to let Jake off the hook so easily. Iron Mike issued an ultimatum that shocked the boxing world. If Jake wanted to fight, it would be on Tyson's terms, and those terms were nothing short of brutal. On July 10, 2024, Tyson unveiled his new fight rules, designed specifically to push Jake Paul to his absolute limits. This was no ordinary boxing match anymore. Tyson wasn't playing around. These rules would test Jake in ways he hadn't imagined. First up, Tyson extended the fight duration. Instead of the usual 8 rounds, this bout was now set for a grueling 15 rounds. Tyson was throwing it back to the old-school days of boxing. This change was monumental for several reasons. The strategic implications were massive. Fighting for 15 rounds requires an entirely different level of stamina and endurance. Jake, who was used to shorter, quicker fights, now had to prepare his body and mind to go the distance. He'd need to pace himself, conserve energy, and be more strategic about when to press the attack and when to defend. The extended duration also meant more opportunities for mistakes, more chances to get worn down physically and mentally. It was a test of who could maintain their performance and composure over a prolonged period, something particularly challenging when the stakes were as high as this. Next, Tyson slashed the rest period between rounds to a mere 30 seconds, instead of the usual 1 minute. This change made the challenge even more intense. In a standard fight, the 1-minute breaks are crucial for fighters to recover, catch their breath, and get advice from their corner. With only 30 seconds between rounds, there would be no time to recuperate fully. Fighters would have to fight through the fatigue, with less time to reset before the next round. This rule meant that every moment in the ring would be that much more taxing. Now, let's talk about the gloves. Tyson insisted on using 8-ounce gloves, which are lighter than the standard 10-ounce gloves used in many professional bouts. While this may seem like a minor detail, it has massive implications for the dynamics of the fight. Lighter gloves mean harder punches, with less padding, making each strike hit with more force. This increases the impact of each blow and, in turn, raises the risk of injury. Jake Paul would have to refine his technique to ensure he could land powerful, accurate punches while also bracing himself for Tyson's devastating hit. But the real game-changer came with the knockout-only rule. Tyson made it clear: forget about points, technical decisions, or judges' scorecards. This fight would be decided solely by a knockout. There were no exceptions. This rule placed an enormous emphasis on raw power and finishing ability. Jake, known for his knockout potential with his powerful right hand, now found himself in a position where every round, every punch, had to be thrown with knockout intent. There was no room for playing it safe. Jake couldn't win rounds by relying on jabs or footwork alone. He had to go all in and risk everything for that knockout punch. Tyson, on the other hand, had a psychological advantage. He knew that knockout was his domain, and he understood how to deliver it with precision. The fact that the fight had to end with one fighter flat on the canvas meant the audience would be on the edge of their seats, knowing that any punch could be the one to end it all. Tyson's next innovation was the Iron Man round. This was one of his most brutal rules. It introduced a single, uninterrupted round lasting a full 3 minutes, with no breaks, no stoppages, just continuous fighting. The Iron Man round was designed as the ultimate test of stamina and resilience. Tyson, ever the strategist, knew that this rule could completely change the course of the fight. It would test the fighter's ability to keep going, even when their bodies were screaming for rest. The relentless nature of this round would undoubtedly push Jake to his limits and force him to dig deeper than ever before. Additionally, Tyson insisted on mandatory and random drug testing throughout training and before the fight. No exceptions. Jake Paul would have no room to take shortcuts with performance-enhancing substances. Tyson's insistence on random drug tests sent a clear message. This fight would be a pure test of skill, strength, and endurance. Jake would need to be at his absolute best to survive Tyson's rules, and there would be no way to cheat his way through it. Finally, Tyson imposed the no clinching rule.